All right, this is the assignment on why am I or am I not deviant? The topic of choice, the deviant act that was chosen is physician assisted suicide. So let's get into it. Taking a deep dive in here, and so what physician assisted suicide is, like what it is, it's basically it involves a situation where a physician they provide the necessary means, guidance, or like information for a patient to intentionally end their own life. Um, but there's ethical considerations that surround it too, and a lot of them are, like deeply rooted in like questions, like questioning like the sanctity of life, or like trying to balance like people's like autonomy and like society, like social values or societal values. And then you have like the like that role that the healthcare professionals have to carry out too, like how serious that is. And there's debate surrounding too, which you can see in both uh, things with public policy and also like ethics and the medical portion of it. But there's also like people like advocating for the different perspectives. Like legalizing it is seen as like a compassionate response to those undergoing terminal illness. And you have and it like and people also could like believe that it offers those individuals like autonomy and like control over their like and the life decisions. Um, and the fact and I guess just that autonomy is like one of those key principles, like supporting like others for this physician assisted suicide. And you have the detractors perspective too, which it argues that like healthcare professionals should preserve life and like alleviate suffering through care instead. And like active involvement in ending a patient's life contradicts like the healing, like their job of being healers in the medical profession. And there's also like the slippery slope argument where you have like if it's legalized for terminal patients, like will that end up making people believe that or like providing or like setting an example that it's acceptable for like non-terminal cases. So that's a concern. So for the framework of it all, so labeling theory, the framework of the theories. So we have labeling theory, and it basically suggests that deviance is not inherent, but it's instead a social construct resulting from like labels that are placed on people or stereotypes, stigmas. How advocates that they'll use this theory to argue against labeling individuals who choose physician-assisted suicide as deviant. And also, labeling theory contends that society like that labeling ignores the nuanced circumstances and like the varying motivations that there are. So for rational choice theory, it assumes that individuals make decisions based on rational calculations where they like weigh it out of like costs and benefits. And then advocates will use this like to or what I'm trying to say is that it argues that those facing like terminal illnesses, or it can help argue that those facing terminal illnesses are making like a rational decision to end their life to escape like what they must be considering as like an unbearable suffering. So like if they're wanting to carry it out, it's because they've weighed the consequences. And why physician assisted suicide is not even so for this perspective, it's viewed as like a complex response and like like I mean like terminal illnesses is like a challenging like situation to take on. So it provides a response to it. But there's just a lot that you got to consider, whether it's ethically or like how even culturally, individually. I would explore that. And the evolving of societal norms too, like deviance is defined, like how deviance is defined by societal norms, and as like perspectives on and like decisions evolve, assisted suicide is like it becomes more increasingly recognized as like more as a legitimate and compassionate choice. So autonomy and compassion. So for autonomy, the fundamental ethical concept is like emphasizing the right of individuals to make decisions about their own lives. And its position assisted suicide is viewed as, or PAS for short. PAS is viewed as an extension of autonomy, and it offers that like dignified and like autonomous choice for like those who like face that like the relentless suffering. And there's that compassion part of it too, and like how you could argue that like allowing individuals to choose the timing and matter of their death is like it is considered compassionate towards what they want. And how this PAS is positioned as like humane response to unbearable like distress that terminal illness entails. And then the evolving cultural part of it, where those shifts in societal attitudes contribute to the arguments against deeming or not, and like the discussions around those end life choices becoming more open, and like the shift in the stigma. And finally, to conclude it all, how it's rooted in respect, and the claim that PS is not deviant is rooted like in that anatomy part of it, or not anatomy, the autonomy and that compassionate consideration, and like an evolving societal understanding of end life choices. Reframing tradition too, reframing PS, it challenges the traditional norms and it invites a more empathetic exploration of all of like that complex decisions that or the complex decisions that individuals gotta face when they're confronted with like this like they like this choice they gotta make. Like there's like no way around it. Like they have to choose that or not. So that inevitable choice. So shifting societal perception. And that's also something where or something I want to bring attention to because as societies they work with like that those like ethical dimensions of like assisted suicide. The lens through which physician assisted suicide is perceived, it like continues to shift and that in turn will like foster a more inclusive and more understanding approach to the deeply personal choices that individuals have to make at the end of their lives. So that concludes the presentation. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in.